no me comparo con él porque no me comparo con nadie, mucho menos con Messi. Entonces lo dejo a vosotros porque entre nosotros pensamos en mejorar cada día más nosotros.
4 days from now, the kid Messi, once bathed as a baby, is going to try to break Argentina's heart. It's not a metaphor. In 2007, a 20-year-old Messi, still years from becoming a legend, took part in a UNICEF photo shoot holding a newborn. That baby is Lamine Yamal, the same Yamal who, on Sunday at MetLife Stadium, walks out to try to stop the national team in the World Cup final. This week, before Argentina put away England in the semifinal, someone asked Yamal a direct question. What does it feel like to face the man in that photo with a World Cup on the line? And what he said back wasn't the empty, respectful gesture you'd expect from a 19-year-old talking about his idol. In the same sentence, he said two things that shouldn't go together. He said he admires him, and he said he's going to do everything possible to knock him out. Admiration and a threat in the same breath. Stay until the end, because I'm going to show you exactly what he said, word for word, and why people close to the national team are already taking it seriously. Let's go back to Wednesday night in Atlanta, because you need to understand what Argentina had to come back from to get here. England took the lead in the 55th minute with a goal from Anthony Gordon, and for a while it looked like the English were finally going to break the drought. But this Argentina team already has a habit: suffer, then survive. They needed extra time to get past Cape Verde, they came back from 2 goals down against Egypt, and they held on against a Switzerland side that gave them trouble even with a man down. Wednesday was more of the same. Enzo Fernandez equalized with a long-range strike in the 85th minute, and then, in the closing minutes, Lautaro Martinez scored the second and sent the entire Argentine bench into celebration. Final score, Argentina 2, England 1. The national team is through to its second straight final. And waiting on the other side is Spain, who ran over France to book their spot in the biggest match in football. For England, the wound is a familiar one. They lost the Euro final in both 2020 and 2024, and the last time they reached a World Cup semi-final, back in 2018, they couldn't get past it either. Harry Kane didn't hide his disappointment after the match. He talked about deep sadness for the players, the coaching staff, the fans, and said the team had played well for most of the match before it slipped away in the moments that mattered most. But there's one part of what Kane said that matters more than the rest for this video. When asked directly about the man who once again ruined England's dream, he didn't hesitate. He said they tried everything to contain Messi, and it still wasn't enough, because Messi is a player who lives for these moments and always finds the space nobody else sees. That's Harry Kane talking, a World Cup semi-finalist, a Bayern Munich striker. And even he sounds like a fan when the subject is Messi. Which brings us to the kid Spain is hoping can do what Kane couldn't. Lamine Yamal turned 19 the day before Spain's semi-final against France. 19 years old, and one match away from facing, in a World Cup final, the player who once held him as a baby. That connection isn't something a producer dug up for drama. It's real, it's documented, and it's something Yamal has been asked about repeatedly heading into this tournament. Reporters have shown him that 2007 photo more than once, and every time, instead of dodging it, he's leaned into it. Ahead of Spain's semi-final, speaking to DAZN, Yamal was asked point-blank whether that childhood photo could turn into a World Cup final. His answer said everything about how he sees this moment. He said he's grown a little since then, joked that Messi probably has too, and added simply that he'd love nothing more than to face his idol on the biggest stage there is. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't downplay it. He didn't try to sound unbothered. A kid who's been compared to the greatest player of his generation for as long as he can remember, looking straight at the possibility of sharing a pitch with that player in a World Cup final and saying, "I want this to happen." But wanting something and fearing it are two different things, and this is where Yamal's comments get sharper. Around the same time, in an interview with Mundo Deportivo, he was asked more directly what it would actually mean to line up against Messi with a trophy on the line. And that answer wasn't just admiration, it had an edge to it. Yamal made clear that his respect for Messi goes back to childhood and runs deep. But that respect has a limit once the match kicks off. If Spain and Argentina meet in the final, he said, his only objective is to win. Not to enjoy the moment, not to savor the story, to win. That's the version of Yamal that should worry Argentina. Not the starstruck kid posing with a childhood photo. the competitor who's already decided nostalgia ends the second the whistle blows. And this isn't the first time Yamal has addressed the Messi comparisons head-on. Months before this tournament, when Spain and Argentina met in the Finalissima, he was asked directly whether he sees himself as Messi's heir. His answer was blunt. He respects everything Messi has been and everything he means to football, and if their paths ever cross on a pitch, that respect will be mutual. But he made clear he isn't trying to become Messi. He's trying to become Lamine Yamal. Put those two threads together, the baby in the photo who now says he'd love to face him, and the 19-year-old who says his only goal is to win, and you start to see exactly what Argentina is walking into on Sunday. Not a kid overwhelmed by the occasion. A player who's been thinking about this exact matchup for years, and who's already made peace with what it means to go out and try to beat his hero. It would be easy to make this video entirely about Yamal, but on the other side is Messi. And at 39 years old, this might be his last World Cup final in an Argentina shirt. And by all accounts, he knows it. After beating England, Messi didn't sound like a man thinking about a farewell tour. He sounded like someone who still can't quite believe he's getting one more shot. He called the tournament an absolutely crazy ride, and said reaching another final still feels incredible to him, even after everything he's already won. Sit with that for a second. This is a man who has won the World Cup, who has won the Ballon d'Or 8 times, a record nobody else in the history of the sport has touched, across 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2015, 2019, 2021, and 2023. And he's still talking about reaching a final like it's the first time it's ever happened to him. There's a symmetry to this final that writers have already started pointing out. It won't just be a celebration of the greatest player the international game has ever seen. It will also be, for the first time, that legend sharing a pitch with the kid many already consider his heir. From one great to the next, in the biggest match there is. Messi remains the tournament's joint top scorer, tied with Kane on 8 goals, with 2 matches still to play. If Argentina lift the trophy on Sunday and Messi adds to that tally along the way, the conversation about this year's Ballon d'Or gets a lot more complicated for Yamal, no matter how good his tournament has been. But before we get to Sunday, and before we get to the rest of what Yamal said, you need to see what Argentina's players found taped to their opponent's water bottle on Wednesday night, because it might explain exactly why England's night ended the way it did. According to reporting that circulated after the match, Argentina's players discovered something unusual on England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford's water bottle. Handwritten notes laying out a penalty shootout plan in case the semi-final went the distance. Every Argentine player's name was reportedly listed, along with notes on which way Pickford intended to dive for each of them. Argentina's physical preparation coach even shared a photo of the notes on social media afterward. And the players didn't waste the moment. Several were pictured cracking up in the locker room over a plan that, in the end, never got used, because Argentina made sure the match never reached penalties at all. If there's a silver lining for England in any of this, it's that the notes are now public, which means Spain's players have almost certainly seen them too. Whether that changes anything about how they'd approach a shootout against Pickford is a different question. But it's exactly the kind of small human detail that makes a World Cup like this one memorable for years. So here's where that leaves us, heading into Sunday, July 19th, at MetLife Stadium. Argentina are chasing back-to-back World Cup titles, something no country has done since Brazil in 1962. Messi is chasing a farewell that, if it happens the way everyone's dreaming, will look like something out of a movie. And Spain are chasing their first World Cup since 2010, with a 19-year-old carrying more weight on his shoulders than most players carry in an entire career. A photo from 2007, a 20-year-old Messi, a baby who had no idea what he was looking at, and a sentence that same baby, now a rival, gave us this week, one that carried both admiration and a threat in the same breath. Respect for everything Messi has ever been, and a flat warning that none of it will matter for 90 minutes on Sunday. That's not a contradiction. That's exactly who Lamine Yamal is right now, a kid who grew up idolizing a legend, and a competitor who's done being anyone's understudy. On Sunday, one of those two versions of him wins out. We're hours away from finding out which one. Who do you think wins it? Messi's last dance or Yamal's coronation? Drop your prediction in the comments, and if you don't want to miss the final, make sure you're subscribed before Sunday.